Welcome to Unbiased and On the Fence. I'm Shane, and it's the Power of 8 at 8. And we have, there she is, Eileen. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Ooh, it's been a rough couple of days, I tell you.
I
You've had
know.
a rough time too. So many others have had this rough time. And you were just talking, and I think you're right. It's probably the solar storm, the
You think it's the
CME.
CME?
Yeah,
Does a huge CME, which I know we got hit with because I was watching solar news, does that produce a lot of geomagnetism? Is
yeah,
that the effect? Not radiation, geomagnetism.
yeah. I'm not. I don't know.
All I know is they say you can manifest better during these storms.
That's right.
Yeah.
So
So
that's the upside of the
that's the
downside I've been
upside.
experiencing.
So last night, I had to consider canceling today because of, we compared notes and we both have symptoms of either food poisoning or a bug,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Both ends, right? A little
yeah,
bit of fever. And I went and slept in a chair, which helped. But then this morning I felt fine. And today I'm like really chill.
yeah.
But it
It's been
started with
going with
headaches. Did you start with headaches again like 3 or 4 days
headaches.
ago?
Just, oh gosh. I mean, I even got to the point where I probably would have thought I was going to vomit if I hadn't. I just had all the symptoms other than the actual vomiting feeling, the nausea. I had it a little bit, but not like, all the other stuff. I had the sweats and
Yeah, I
the
had
mouth
fever.
watering like you do when you're really like about to blow chunks. It
I
was
was
like a,
vomiting last night, woke me up. I was like, whoa, where's this coming from? No alcohol and no, nothing to cause it.
yeah.
But
So
the CBD that I took did work on my headaches, but I took it for 3 days
right.
because I would have to top up, and I wanted to test whether or not CBD oil really does work on headaches, and it actually does.
Good.
So on me, anyway, I was the guinea pig.
Yeah, I was laying in bed last night and I was like, oh gosh, I feel horrible. Do I need to go get like a bucket or something to set by the bed? Because I didn't know if I wake up later, like you said. And
So you thought of canceling, and I thought of canceling, and then
yeah.
I thought today, oh, we'll just chit chat and then throw on a pre-recorded meditation because I
Mm-hmm.
won't do a live meditation if I'm feeling yucky. I'll just give
Right.
you yucky energy.
Yeah. So that's what I thought. I kept going back and forth. I'd feel great, and then another wave would hit me. I'd get clammy and just I don't know, just hot flashes, and then after a while I'd get chills, and it was back and forth like flu almost, flu
Yeah,
like
it was like
symptoms.
flu. At first, I thought food poisoning,
Yeah.
which is kind of like a mini flu.
Yeah.
It happens very
Mm-hmm.
fast and then you're over it. So
Yeah.
I don't know, guys, but something was shifting big time. Oh, and then a lot of people in our community, hi Buster, if you're in, he's probably doing live stuff and doing recording stuff. A lot of our group is over in SMQ AI and Chick, who do the Lost and Found Bend every Saturday at 2. And they delve deep into kind of the scientific background of the Mandela effect. It's very interesting. And boy, wasn't that show. I caught it after the live bit because I was out. And it was glitching and glitching and glitching, but not in the normal way. We
Hmm.
know the normal glitches.
Yeah.
One of the glitches that Buster 1978, it's all one word if you want to look it up, um, did a quick video on. Um, he repeated a word immediately, and he repeated two words immediately, and he repeated them with different tones.
Mm-hmm.
So when Buster pulled them apart and ran them side by side, they didn't match each other. So these were words that were actually said by SMQ AI, right? At this one after the other immediately, just in completely different tones. And they were so close together that you couldn't really say them together. It would have to be like, what's the word? A delayed repeat. Like if a word just like repeated after it was picked up by YouTube and thrown back out again.
Hmm. So it's like some kind of weird censorship you're saying, or
No, no, I think it's CME related. I think it's
oh,
geomagnetic, or possibly the community there is like our community, and a lot of our people are in there. And it's very heart centered energy, which is magnetic.
mm-hmm.
So that when you get that many people together on one live stream, that could actually be interfering with all the low level
Hmm.
technology that's actually running the live stream.
I see what you mean. Yeah, yeah, because it's all energy. Yeah,
Yeah, it's all energy. How many times do you sit down and your computer won't work, your phone won't work, your lights don't work, your TV doesn't work? Well, imagine putting 100 people like that into one live stream into
yeah.
YouTube. You know, you're going to get all kinds of funky stuff. And then the chicks started glitching. Hers were a little more normal, but a little bit odd. You could kind of hear an echo of her in the background.
That's strange. And it's normally not like that, huh?
No, they're totally, you know, professional. They got their headphones on, they got their microphones on. Every week they do a live stream like you and I do, and you and Michelle do, and you and Sherry do. And it was just such a shifty, glitchy day.
Yeah, definitely could be sun related, solar related. And they were talking about the Mandela effect. I think that's a good segue into. Darby sent me this. This is pretty trippy. Let me share the screen here so we can look at this together and talk about it. Okay, a Mandela effect. This is for those who remember Prince and the Revolution. Let me go big for you guys here. Look at this. Anybody that had this album cover, I want to see if this is funny looking to you. Is this? It's kind of big. Let me. Really, it's the font more than anything, but this is actually a poster. Let me clarify this. This is a poster, and this is the album. Now, I kind of remember the album looking more like this with the flowery white background on the flowery section, but it's really the font that I'm noticing all running together right here that just looks so extremely odd to me. And
doesn't it look really sharp? Like the P and the U and the L look normal from what I recall of the album cover, which I had on a cassette. I have to admit, I never had the full album cover. I had the cassette. But the R, that looks like a deadly weapon. It looks so sharp and so like, you know, it's like if you stepped on that, it would shred your feet. But the P is like the way I remember it, and the P and the R look like two, well, they are. They're different fonts, aren't they? Don't you think those are two different fonts, the P and the R?
This loopy part sure doesn't match.
No.
You know?
And the colors, do you guys see a difference in color, or is that just me?
See, it could be since it's a photo, because this looks more purple to me than this one, and I kind of remember it looking more purple. This one is more like a blue or something, you know, like a. But this is way more purple than the other one. It looks like
rain and the E at the end of purple have all been rewritten. Possibly even the P. It looks like the PU are the original, and then the R, P, L, E, and rain are all a different font.
That's who was it that said that?
Did somebody else say that?
Wisdom says it looks like pain. It does look like pain, kind of.
Oh yeah, pain. Hey, Wisdom of the Luna rays.
Yeah.
Luna rose. It does. It looks like pain, and maybe that's what they're going for.
I thought maybe I wasn't sure about the font changing because I mean it's at least similar to how it was, but I don't remember. I think this might have been lower, but if you lowered it, it would be in her face. So I thought it was like right in here, but I remember being able to see her. I'm not really sure.
It wasn't lower, but the R didn't go right across it like that. Maybe
maybe it just
like super long now.
Yeah, maybe that's what's happening.
And making it look higher up. I don't know.
Because this even seems like it should be higher up. Like
the
whole
it doesn't
letter
look right.
Up a little bit, like this closer to the.
It doesn't even look like an R. It's like looks like a falling apart R that's designed to subconsciously say pain, purple pain. Yeah.
So I don't know. That's weird though, isn't it?
It is weird.
Okay, so let me see. While I'm sharing the screen, let's check out the Schumann. Of course, I go to Mr. MBB 333.com for this, and then you can click on Schumann resonance right here. But I was even looking at, these weird, I don't know, that's just, look how jagged that looks.
Yeah, because the white means can't be measured, right?
Right, it's just.
We've agreed white is like off the charts.
Exactly, it's reached the top of the scale, and it should
Which is amplitude and which is hertz, do you know?
Yeah, hertz is up and down. So at the very top is 0 hertz. At the very bottom is 40 hertz. And then, and then
so
it goes
one
from
of those
black to white.
A couple of those reached 40 hertz. I know I've heard people say they don't measure above 40 hertz, so who knows what it really is.
Yeah, exactly. So that was an interesting show last night, and you found it interesting.
Oh my God, I loved it. I loved it. April, I hope you're in here tonight.
Yes.
I love listening to April anyway. I just love your voice. It's so soothing and comforting and happy and joyful. But to hear you in that state of other consciousness, but still being you in your other consciousness, it was just so fascinating.
But you know what it's like, don't you? You know what it's like to to not remember stuff. How do you experience that when you go to the somnambulistic level? You
Well,
go,
I'm going to ask you to do me. I've signed up for the course with Candace, but I haven't taken it yet because I'm in two other courses now. I'm doing a tuning fork course and the advanced Power of Eight with Lynne McTaggart the whole year. But I've already signed up for BQH as the next course.
mm-hmm.
I would like you to consider doing me live on the air because I haven't seen any of them go live,
Hmm.
QHHT or BHQ.
Hmm.
So if you're game, it's a bit risky. You know, you're on your toes, and I have no idea. I do know that other voices can come out. I was done by the Edgar Casey Research Foundation.
Yeah.
And occasionally different voices would come out. That might upset some of the listeners because I'm not a channeler. But
Right.
apparently, when I go deep enough, I can get into kind of a channeling like session, but it's supposedly still me.
Yeah.
Like, remember when April was talking light language?
Yeah. That
Yeah.
was amazing, wasn't it? Could you
Yeah.
feel it?
I did. And it
Yeah,
was
you can
still
feel it.
her. I still
Yeah.
felt like I don't feel she's channeling something different. I feel that that's April, part of
Oh
her.
yeah. Yeah, her higher self or something, maybe. I don't know. But I know that I couldn't understand what she was saying, but the feeling I got with it, I'm like, that's not something to understand. You know what I
Oh
mean?
God, the spiders cracked me up because, of course, Ronnie and April and I jumped on your show one day and we were talking about bugs. So I knew about her fear of spiders already, and the fact that she was around all these like electric blue spiders that were really a visual. She said probably for some kind of energy or a visual representation of some kind of life form. So
Yeah.
they weren't really spiders, but it's what that's what it reminded her of. I was just laughing my butt off through that whole section because that's not something that April would happily go to, for fun.
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah, it's wild, isn't it?
It was awesome. And
Validating.
when it stopped, I was like, oh darn, it stopped. I don't know how long we were listening, but I was like, I was ready for more.
Mhm. Yeah.
And
And it's
yes,
strange.
it started out in the future. And I had this with the Edgar Casey Foundation. Once I was down in my deepest levels, like the further you go, you jump ahead in time. You're in the future, but you have no idea until the person directing it figures it out. And then you jump back in time and then you're present. It's like all time is jumbled up into one big soup. And you got the spoon going in, and you don't know what time you're going to pull out as you dip in either to the lower consciousness or you dip into the higher consciousness. I think you can ask, like, if you do me, I'm going to ask you to ask that the only part of Eileen that comes through is the higher consciousness. I do not want to be talking from my subconscious because of decades and decades and decades of research on things that I don't agree with, but they're all in there percolating in my little subconscious mind, right? They're all there.
Yeah.
And I would hate to bring those forward as truths just because I read them, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, that would be interesting to do in live. I'm not sure about the induction, I might have a slew of people like hypnotized
That
listening.
happened to me. That's how I was at a hypnotist show in Houston when I was like 21, and I went out in the audience. 5 people did, and everybody from the stage was put back, and the 5 people who went out in the audience. Yeah, if you do the induction and someone's driving, man, no.
I need to figure out a way if I could somehow start it, or maybe just play some music for them, and then like, okay, we'll be back in like 10 minutes or whatever. I think that would probably be better, maybe.
Yeah,
Yeah.
than leaving me somewhere in the deep, dark recesses of my mind while you go get back on the show and go, okay, she's under.
Well, it'd just be a matter of clicking a button, I think. But I could get it where it's a one-click thing, or maybe just start streaming and don't do an intro or anything. That's probably how I'd
If we
have to
do it live, it'll be interesting to see how that works because I know that most people do pre-recording so they can edit them for
Mm-hmm.
obvious reasons. There's probably very good reasons for that.
Oh
You
yeah,
know,
because there could be personal information, and you know, you never know. You know,
you never
but
know.
but I feel like it's not just us doing it, and it's not sort of just like just this just whimsical information coming out that, well, I just feel like there's more than us. You know, there's the higher ups that know what's going on. They're not going to spill the beans about stuff. If I think they'll know that we're live and things would still be controlled, because I can totally see the micromanagement of
There's some
these
things we're
higher
not meant to
benevolent
know,
beings.
are there? They're like some
Right.
things that we
Or
should.
if there's something that you don't want to get out, they'll know that you don't, they'll find that embarrassing. Maybe they don't want that out, or maybe that's information they want to keep private. Maybe like someone's name in your family or something. Like, you see what I'm saying? It could be something like that maybe you, if you were alert and aware, you wouldn't have said it. And I think they'll respect that. I really do.
I think so too. I think that's all natural, part of our natural consciousness.
Yeah, there would be uncharted territory though.
Safety nets on it, right? Right? Unless you talk to somebody who just has no filter, then anything could come out. But
Yeah.
then maybe their consciousness has a filter and
Yeah.
still listens to what it's saying before it says it. Now, if I did it, I wouldn't be so interested in past lifetimes, future lifetimes, because I've done that before and it's fun. I would be interested in like the shift versus the event. Because Dolores, I've got a 3-minute clip I borrowed from Vanessa Voss channel, and she got
And I
it
got
from
the full thing
in
below.
5D. She's a shift girl, just like me. That's how I was raised, about this gradual shift that our bodies get used to. Like everything we experienced last week, guys, might have been our bodies adjusting and getting used to new frequencies for the transition.
Right.
But as Allison Coe and other QHHT practitioners after Dolores' death in 2014, was it? Yeah. They only put forward the information their clients are giving them. They're not making this stuff up. They're hearing it.
Right.
So could there be a shift in information? It could be that simple, that from the 1960s through 2012, it was a shift. It was gradual. We would all acclimate if we were going to go, right? And then after 2012 and after Dolores transitioned, right? I guess there's nothing wrong with her. From what I've read, she was not sick. It was not expected. She literally transitioned. That it became quicker. It became a shift. An event rather than a shift.
But I think I think we're talking about either the whole ladder or rungs on the ladder. People that view, a rung as an event, but the shift people view the whole ladder as an event. So of course we've got these many events that happen.
Yes,
like
exactly.
we just went through one. This whole thing we just went through, with the sun, that was a little mini event on the whole ladder, just a rung on the ladder. So
I've never heard it described that way. That is perfect.
So Jim Self, he's been talking about this shift for a long time, and I don't think I think it's still good information. I think there is a slow process that's happening.
No reason to not keep an eye on it, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I think we're in the middle of it.
I think we're in the middle of it.
I think the Mandela effect and all these things that we're seeing, some things that I think, like the Rainbow Mountains, is in a Mandela effect. It's weird. It's
Rainbow
something
River,
supernatural.
Rainbow Mountains, Rainbow Beach, rainbow bugs, rainbow animals.
And I love Dolores Cannon's work. She's the one where I presented one of her sessions. They were discussing whether they would make changes to our material reality to sort of wake us up. Do you remember that? I did a video a while back. And so that's another thing. So let's see what she has to say on this one.
This is specifically taken out for April's questions when she came out of it and discussed it with you afterwards. And she said, I'd love people to chime in.
Okay. Yeah. So... And I got a cool email from Jolie that I sent along I forwarded it over to April, and she appreciated that information. Some more of what she kind of thought about the whole thing.
Cool.
Okay, so I will start this. I will let you know when it's finished. Just so, I'm going to mute my mic here.
Now, and we are in the middle of all of this right now. And it's been happening since about 2003 that we are moving toward the new Earth, and the frequencies and the vibrations of the Earth are raising. That's going to push us into another dimension. So there's no deadline because we're already in the middle of it. And people aren't even going to notice that anything is really happening because it's very, very gradual. It's not sudden. And it's been happening since 2003. And they said that's why the year 2012 has no meaning at all, the number at all. It just means that at that time we're going to be, the energy will have increased to the point that it will push us into the other dimension. But it's a very gradual process that has been happening over a long period of time. The main lesson we come to Earth to learn is how to manipulate energy. And what this means is learning how to create your own reality and to create the events in your life. And this is what a lot of people don't understand. If they don't like what's happening in their life, they can change it. And that's what it means about learning how to manipulate energy and change the events that you are experiencing, because we do have control over that. And the main thing to learn is how to do this. And if they don't learn how to do it, well, then they do have to come back, because it is a main lesson. But this is what's happening right now, and what I'm lecturing about everywhere has to do with learning how to change your reality and create your own reality. With everything in your life you have put there, you have created. And if you don't like what's happening in your life, you can change it. This is very powerful information if people think they're stuck. So if you learn how to do this, then naturally you're going to get rid of karma, because you'll realize it's not needed. It's the baggage and the garbage that we carry around with us. Once you understand those things, we can get rid of it and leave it behind as we move forward. And the earth itself is a living being. Everything is alive. That's what they told me. The most important lesson I can teach anyone is that everything is alive and everything has consciousness. This means even what we think of as inanimate objects. Everything is alive, has consciousness. The earth itself is a living being, and it is getting ready to go into its next incarnation. It also has incarnations just like people do. It just takes it a lot longer to do it. And it's going into the next incarnation, which means it's changing its vibration and frequency as the whole earth moves into another dimension.
And that is it. Let's see.
So, if you want to hear the whole thing, I borrowed that off of Vanessa Voss channel, if we have a link for the whole 1 hour.
Yep, it's right below. It says Dolores Cannon, and it's the link below that.
Of course, she got it from In5D, so we're just borrowing it. I put a disclaimer up for criticism, education, and discussion. But that's out of the horse's mouth. That's Dolores talking about it right before 2012.
Yeah, when everybody was still thinking, something's going to happen. You know?
Yeah, she's a shift baby. It's like, okay, this is drawn out. Don't worry about it. But then after she passed, the information coming through the sessions, not through the practitioners themselves, was it's going to happen instantly. It's going to be fast. So now that's just interesting to me. It's like, did we shift and jump into a new timeline as a Mandela effect to where the shift's going to be fast now, and before we were on a timeline where it was dragged out?
Yeah. And one thing is, on one of our sessions, it said she would be here for the shift. Did you know that?
I do know that, and I don't know if she's talking. It seemed like she was talking. I heard it. I've listened to so many hours of Dolores.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you where it's at, but I know I heard it.
If I ever find it, I'll clip it. I'll send it to you. It almost sounded like a reincarnation, like she was going to be born on Earth again, that she could experience the fruits of her labor. Like, why would you want to work now through all the drudgery of duality and not reincarnate and be here when the golden age, has really taken hold because of what you did in all those previous lifetimes?
It's funny. I think, I'd say most people that you ask right now, if you left right now, would you come right back? They tell you, no way. There's no way I'd come back, But I think probably 99% of those people would change their mind once they got out. And they'd be like, it wasn't so bad. I'll go back,
Oh, well, it was mostly good. I'm going back. But think of the disconnect as well. There's something going on with the people who are healthy, happy, eating in a nice house with a nice car and a nice family. Okay, they got a nice job. Might not be what they creatively want to do, but it pays the bills. Maybe they get a vacation. They don't want to come back. These are people who are not living on garbage heaps, eating garbage and under bomb shelters. Yeah. So to me, I'm going, why? What is it about those who seem to have everything on their plate in front of them who are in the 25% of humanity that experiences a prosperous, safe, healthy life.
Yeah.
What is it about them that they don't want to come back? Because there's 75% more that sure have very good reasons not to come back. I'm like,
Right.
not criticizing, but I'm curious. What is that? What is that in the psychology that makes them say, I'm done with Earth, I'm done with duality? Yeah?
Oh yeah, definitely. And I feel like one thing is our connection to Earth. I think it's getting more disrupted by all the electronics, and it's not comfortable. It doesn't feel like home, and you have, if you're not meditating and really actively trying to connect, like I said, I've been doing it more frequently for shorter periods of time, and just trying to stay connected more than not stay in a meditative state, but stay connected to Earth and stay grounded all the time, because I think that's what we're missing. And you feel better when you do it. You know, when you take a deep breath in.
To nature, you feel better when you meditate.
Yeah.
You feel better. A lot of people are saying they're tired. And think about that. We have all the modern luxuries to keep us from being tired compared to cavemen and women who had to go out and pick berries and kill saber-tooth tigers and skin them. You know, that was a lot of physical labor.
Yeah.
You know,
That's
more
strange.
labor than we have now, but now we're tired. So something else is making us tired.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think just the new energies coming in. Who was? Oh, I'm not going to remember. It's Callahan. I'm not going to remember his name, but I did a video on him. And he was talking about they had the Mayan calendar kind of messed up a little bit, but there was this unity wave coming in, and it was actually about a year before the actual 2012 thing happened, that this unity wave came in. But you kind of have to connect to it. It's there, but people don't connect to it.
Oh
but
yeah,
I
like
think we're
Casey's
beginning
work.
to.
His
Yeah.
reconnections to energy are so good and so healthy and important. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I think that's a big thing. I think people will feel happier if they can connect to that unity consciousness that's there. And I wish I had a recipe to do that. I think part of it is just setting your intention to do that, you know?
Yeah, I think intention is everything. It was interesting the way Dolores was talking about. The main thing you've come here to learn is to create your reality. When you create your reality, you get to get off the train and go somewhere else. So it might not be a prison planet, and it might not be a matter of don't go into the light upon death. It might be a matter of you signed up for this 5,000 years ago, and you have to go through the whole 10,000 years to get off. And if you didn't learn what you came here to learn, maybe you go into the next 10,000 year train ride of multiple lives. It could be something like that.
And then we're like, thank God for amnesia, right? I mean, I'm like, why can't I remember? You don't want to
I don't want to
remember.
remember 10,000 lifetimes. Are
You
you
don't want to
kidding
remember
me?
how many times you've done this. So I think that I'm like, it's probably a blessing. It'll be like, you know, careful what you wish for, you know.
Well,
So,
if we talk about the Theosophists, I haven't studied before them. I wish I could talk about people before them, but Madame Blavatsky, Rudolf Steiner, and Alice Bailey were the three main ones. And they channeled Dao Kul, this Tibetan. And it was ancient wisdom. And she spent so much time in India, so it's very Hindu. And they talked about the 7 epics of humanity, and we're in the 5th one, the 5th seed race. Have you heard of that?
I don't think I have.
April was touching on this stuff. I was like, April, you're talking like a theosophist last night. There's 7 root races, of which we are in the 5th, or if my memory's not serving me, because I read this like over a decade ago, there are 5 root races in which we're in the 3rd. So any theosophists out there in the chat can tell me which it is. I think it's 7 root races of humanity. We're in the 5th. And the 5th is the 5th chakra, which is the blue chakra. So we're all living in the 5th ray, which is why all this blue lights, blue spiders, drinking water out of a blue jug that I put in the sun. Yeah. But within the blue ray, there are 7 notes, right? There's actually 8 with the in-between, right? There's, you know, the in-between is the 8th note, just like the 8th chakra is in between. It's above your body. And they all have their own color and their own purpose as well. So there's rays within rays. And I was like, wow, April's really touching on, it's all in the book called Esoteric Healing by Alice Bailey, 2,000 pages of all logos of the planets, rays of humanity, just absolutely fascinating information. Very dry. A good sleep aid, definitely.
Yeah, we had a lot of. I did a video on all the different blue things a while back, and I can't even remember all of them. But yeah, it was like bananas were one. There was just some strange things that it turned blue. Do you remember that video I did?
Yes,
I can't.
I do. And there's no
like a
blue
bear or
food except
something?
for blueberries,
I think
right?
there's
And
a
then
blue
the
lion.
blue clam and the blue lobster turns red or another color if you cook them.
Strange,
Very strange.
but it's all hints. I think.
It's all communication, and
Yeah.
the blue is connecting the heart to the third eye, to the indigo.
But then it seems we had a white wave. It seems we had a rainbow wave. We had all that rainbow stuff pop on the scene.
I remember that like for a year. We had rainbow everything popping up.
Yeah.
Wasn't that crazy?
Yeah, that's so wild to just watch it happening. You're like, is this really happening?
I'm like, is this real? Is this Rainbow River really real? It exists in real life?
It's amazing.
I mean, sometimes I agree with people who say we don't have to understand this stuff. We just have to enjoy it. And in the process of experiencing it, we're doing our part. That's it. That's all you need to do. But then most of us are so curious. We start picking and digging and going, what's this all about? And how is that connected to this? Do you know what I mean? We really kind of research it.
Yeah, even while I was looking at the Prince changes, I'm like, oh, it's kind of, is it the Prince in the Revolution is ascending into the purple rain or the purple pain, as someone pointed out. I mean, there's so many ways that little messages can be hidden within a change if you can remember exactly how it changed. But
with AI, it is already loose in our computers, phones, TVs. It's in the internet.
Yeah.
So with AI, the programmers who hold the keys to programming AI can tell it to do anything. And it could literally change purple rain everywhere online in a second or two or 3 seconds. Right? Yeah. So how much of this is natural Mandela effect change and how much of it is managed Mandela effect change?
Well, this is the thing. For Darby, she didn't even realize the album had changed. She noticed her shirt changed. Her boyfriend gave her her purple rain shirt back.
Oh, so this was Sherry's daughter?
And she looked at exactly. Okay. Sherry's daughter that brought it up, and she said her boyfriend brought her purple rain shirt back to her, and she's like, this is not how it was. And I'm like, well, that's the album cover. Did the album change? And I looked it up, and sure enough, the album poster,
it did. You could do a video on it and just throw it out there as another Mandela effect.
Yeah, I need to send it over to
Moneybags.
I'll let Moneybags do it.
He was saying, I really don't see a lot of Mandela effects lately. I'm kind of like they're slowing down, and then I'm wondering, are the Mandela effects slowing down, or are we getting a little bit nonchalant? A fancy French word for whatever. I don't see them anymore because I'm so used to them that I don't notice anymore. I don't know.
All right.
I can't answer that.
Yeah, I actually. I was looking up a scripture today, and I backed up and I was like reading before it, and I swear it was like every 3 verses I found a change. I'm like, wait a minute, like you remember the one, the render unto Caesar what is Caesar's, and they brought him a coin and says, he says, bring me a coin. He says a specific type of coin, and he says, whose face is on that? What kind of coin do you remember? Do you remember in the King?
The coins.
Okay, it's a penny now. I thought it was like
it was a penny.
It's a penny now. It wasn't a penny before. I don't know what. It was like a penny
back 2,000 years ago.
It was like a talon or something.
A talon. I remember that now because to me, when I first read it, a talon reminds me of a hawk's finger. So I was thinking a talon is like a bird's fingernail.
Right. I think it's actually spelled talent, like talent, like you're a singer. You have a talent. I think it's spelled like that.
Is it spelled like talent or talon?
Yeah, I think it's spelled like talent.
Okay.
But it wasn't penny. And I'm like, I don't know what this was for sure. It seems like talent, but I know it wasn't a penny,
But it is now.
Yeah. And,
along with sofas and unicorns and aliens and bottles.
Here's one with dual memory, and it actually makes, I'll just present it. And so there's a scripture that says, love the Lord with all your heart, soul, and you guys can type in what you remember.
Love the Lord
soul,
with all your heart.
Soul and
soul, life. I don't know. I'm stretching. I'm guessing.
Yeah, let's see. Let me give everybody a moment. Your heart, soul, and because now it says, I think that's long enough. That the delay. They're just probably okay. So I remembered it as heart, soul, and might because
Might.
like all your strength, right?
Yes.
But now it's mind. And
Mind?
I remember thinking it seemed like it should be mind before, but now that it's mind, I'm like, no, because I always thought it should be mind and it was might. You know,
Yeah, but
all
don't
your
you
heart, soul, and
find
might.
that your thoughts are dripping into the reality
Yeah.
around you? Because I drove my Volkswagen for
Yeah.
4 years and went, that's a stupid logo. They need a break in the middle of it. Where
And
does the
then it
B
happens.
start and where does the W end? And then 4 years later, when I traded it in, there was the break right in the middle of my steering wheel logo.
Exactly.
So my mind is
Yeah.
dripping into my reality and changing matter.
Right.
So you might be responsible for that, not just for you, but for everybody. You might have changed might to mind because you always
Everybody's
thought
got mind. Everybody put mind. I don't see any mites. Let me ask you guys this one. There was another one in that same passage. I wish I could remember what it was. If you look up,
I never remember the Bible
many are
passage.
called, but few are chosen. That's the scripture I looked up that I backed up and read the whole chapter and saw that. So if you want to find it, you can do it that way. April remembers mine. Okay. Here's
April
another one.
has a good memory for these things.
Yeah. See, I remember thinking it should be mine, though. It's just having that thought makes you remember it a little bit better. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
for me personally, it like put a little memory anchor in there. But there's another one. He said, who on the coin? He says, whose picture is okay? I'm going to give you guys a multiple choice. Okay, 3. Did he say?
I'm not very good with the Bible. Is my sister in there? She's great. She's
Yeah,
read it
she's
like
here.
3
I
times.
saw her earlier. She's here.
Hey,
So,
old lady, get in on this Bible stuff. She's not
Okay.
really old lady. Tips from an old lady.
multiple choice. Does he say whose face is? Does he say subscribed, inscribed, or superscribed onto the coin? Which one do you guys?
I'm staying mute on that one.
Okay.
I'd have to just pick randomly.
It's superscribed or superscription or it's super. I'm like, I've never even heard of that word. Superscription?
No.
Superscript?
What was it? It was inscribed.
That's what I
Original.
remembered as an
That
inscribed.
makes sense. Yeah.
But superscribed?
Well, that's kind of a message going, go to your super consciousness. Leave your subconscious alone. It's full of a lot of garbage. Your consciousness, judges everything. And it's kind of like, over judgmental. So go to your super conscious, which is connected to your soul. So I'm getting a message through that one. Go on.
So
I'm ready for some more.
Okay, one more that I came across. And this was all in this short thing. I'm like, I read a verse. I found one, read a verse, found one. And I'm like,
Fun.
Yeah, I'm like, it's like you
It's a
can't even
little
pick up the
test, a little
Bible and
quiz.
read it. Yeah, so this one was, let's see. Okay, so you remember how they were trying to trap him in this story. They were trying to get him, that's why he said, render unto Caesar what is Caesar, and render unto God what is God. So this whole time that the Pharisees and Sadducees were trying to trick Jesus into saying the wrong thing so they could get him in trouble, but he kept impressing them. So it said that they were so impressed with his, and was it knowledge, wisdom, teachings? Was it
It should have been
doctrine?
his wisdom.
Yeah, it's doctrine now.
No.
I'm like,
Oh,
doctrine?
that's
Jesus is
Rowe
so
writing
anti-doctrine.
More important than wisdom and knowledge and teaching. Doctrine. Oh my
And that's-
God.
but see,
Scary.
that's
Run for your
another-
lives.
Yeah, so for me, it's another one of those things where it's a revelation of truth. And so knowledge and wisdom has taken the back seat to doctrine in
Yeah,
many
well,
cases,
haven't
hasn't
we
it?
figured that out? Okay, so now let's dissect this Mandela effect. Did the Mandela effect occur because the hand of Rome got in there and said, we're changing this silly wisdom to doctrine? No, but have enough truthers uncovered the purpose of religious teaching, which we thought was for wisdom and teaching and knowledge. But no, it's for doctrine to control the masses and oppress. And because we know that now, we hit the 100th monkey and it showed up in the book. So now Rome is going, crap, it's in there. It's switched to doctrine. The secret hidden hand is now visible.
Can you believe that doctrine? My mind was
No.
blown. I had to read it again several times.
That is amazing because to me, that says that they wouldn't want that to come out. But it's coming out because enough of us have figured it out.
Yeah.
Yeah? Do you think so?
Yeah.
Do you think that's how this Mandela effect works?
I think it's a revelation of truth, and I think we do have some part in it. I don't know if it's from our level or our higher selves or future selves, are helping wake us up with these things, because they seem very personal. Like a lot of the Mandela, like the whole thinker statue, just the way I got it, and
Yeah.
just when I think back at all of it, it
do
seems,
feel personal, but then the changes are for everybody.
yeah.
Even though it mattered to you, it changed for everybody on your timeline,
But I
in
think
your
everybody
bubble, in your
has.
reality bubble.
I think everyone has one of those things. It's just people don't look at it, or they'll see one that's not a Mandela effect for them and throw it all out
Yeah.
because they don't realize that it's an individual thing. Not everyone sees every single Mandela effect. So I think that's really important to know when you go in, because if you look at 10 of them
Yeah.
and they all seem right
Yeah.
to you in their current way, and you don't look any further, you're never going to get to that one that you know for sure.
And I don't
the
mind.
other way.
If other people have Mandela effects, it doesn't bother me if I don't share it. I'm like, well, I don't really see that one.
Mhm.
And I move on. It doesn't bother
Yeah.
me that I don't share all the Mandela effects of everybody.
Yeah, but even within the Mandela effect groups, you'll see that where somebody will post one, and you'll have 5 people say, no, I remember it this way too, and then one person will be like, no, I had this as a kid, and they just don't realize that, okay, for you it was really that way, but for these
Yep.
other people it was the other way.
Yep, yep,
You know,
yep,
and
yep.
it's hard, like with the traffic lights for me. I remember
I
there's
remember
always,
them going the way they are on Vanessa Voss channel. You too?
oh no, for
Green,
me
yellow,
that's
red.
for me, I remember being a little kid and like actually analyzing why they would do the colors like that over and
Are you
over again.
serious?
Yeah, and I remember coming up with, well, they must want the red to stick up above any taller vehicles like trucks and stuff
What
because
year
it's
would
most
that be,
important.
though? Because I'm older than you.
Oh, maybe it was before then?
Yeah, I'm thinking maybe that's when the change occurred. What would you have been, like 10?
I don't know. 74 is when I was born, so I don't know when
Would
that's
that have been
supposedly
around
changed.
84
Is
to
that when the
90?
lights changed?
I don't know, because that could indicate a change.
Oh, okay.
That meant
Yeah.
something to you. But prior to that, when I was driving in 76, I remember it being red, yellow, green.
Oh,
No.
wow.
No, green, yellow, red. Red was always at the bottom.
Wow. And that even makes sense,
Yeah, you go really fast, and then you stop, right?
Yeah.
That's that
Yeah,
joke
so you're
from
going, it should be at
Starman.
the top.
You go, you slow down, you stop.
Mm-hmm. And then I remember thinking that, well, those signs, like highway signs, have an arrow down, so maybe it's sort of like, I don't know.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's
I
like if
do.
if
It's a
it's on the
direction.
ground, it's pointing up. If it's on the sign, it's pointing down. But they're both pointing at the vanishing point, right?
Yes,
Of
yes.
the road, basically.
There's no way to know, because if we're all in separate reality bubbles. Okay, so this takes us into my new theory, April. Yeah, I love you, April. You made me think last night. You got my little brain going. Brrr. Okay, NPCs. I'm like with you guys. I'm with you and April on this. I don't like the idea, so I don't support it, but I do understand it. I get it.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I think the
don't
way you see it is
criticize
good.
people who-
I think Sleeple works good. I think
Yeah.
there's not much of a difference there.
Or Sleeple. Or Sleeple.
Sleeple.
We just
I
need
like
to nudge them
Sleeple.
away.
Yeah.
Okay, so what if we take everything we learned from Cynthia Sue Larson and the studies in Edinburgh, that everybody creates their own little reality bubble, and occasionally our bubbles coalesce into a bigger bubble so that we share the same background reality. But then one of those little bubbles could kind of like, boom, release itself and attach to another grouping where that reality is slightly different than the reality they were previously in. But the one they were still in is just happy chappy going along, and it's massive coalition of bubbles.
Mhm.
Does this all make sense?
Yeah.
And if consciousness chooses, let's say there's one consciousness with an infinite potential of you, okay? But there's only one of you, one spirit, one soul, right? And if it's doing what Eckhart Tolle and all the great writers, including Cynthia, say, it's choosing a reality moment to moment to moment to moment to moment to moment to moment. Now I sound like Abraham Hicks.
Mhm.
What if that moment to moment to moment is your consciousness choosing a new reality bubble?
Mhm.
Okay? You exist in all of them. There's a gazillion of them. You are an NPC in a gazillion except for one, the one that you're in. And the
Yeah, I
one
just
that
got-
you're in, you spark it with soul. You fill it with spirit.
Yeah.
Okay? Until you jump out of that reality bubble into another one, and now you're filling that version of you with spirit and soul. But you still left the other you behind, which took a different path. It's like, okay, I'm going to go to college. I'm not going to go to college. I'm going to go to college. Okay, boom, I jump into that reality bubble. But the part of me that didn't go to college is still living and moving forward in her timeline, but she doesn't have the spark of consciousness in her. But there's other people around her who do have sparks of consciousness. So for them, I would be an NPC in all the reality bubbles that I'm not in with my consciousness.
Which takes me back to, I always use that. A lot of people saw the movie Click when he had the remote and he could control reality with it.
No, I'd love to see it. That sounds super cool.
So he'd hit the fast forward button until he got to the next exciting thing. And so he hit the fast forward button until he got to his promotion, which he thought it was going to be really soon, but he, like, years later, he snaps out of it. And, you know, he's all old and he's got a belly, and I don't want to ruin it for you guys. But it's basically, you know, he would agree to things and stuff during that fast forward point, and he was like, I never agreed to that, and he'd rewind it and go look, and sure enough, he's sitting there at the table, like kind of like an NPC, right?
Yeah.
Sitting there, and she's like, hey, can you go to the thing this weekend with me? And he's like, sure, yeah, no problem, or whatever. So he did agree, but he really wasn't there, you know? So yeah. I see that as sort of, you're like on autopilot. But,
so are there versions of us that are on autopilot, but we're not really there because we're in the one that we selected this moment?
Right.
But at any moment, we can jump into one of those because they're available to us. They're there.
Right. And I think what you're describing there goes along with like mainstream science with the multiple timelines and stuff.
Yeah,
I feel like it's more of a soup of consciousness and probabilities, possibilities, and we're just experiencing what we observe and collapse.
So that's more of the holographic only version. There's no lines. It's not an onion. You don't jump up and down dimensions. It's all in there, but you can choose within there which way to go.
Right. And I don't feel like, I know people feel like there's like a million of yous, you know, and you can jump, and I don't really subscribe to that. I feel like we have one consciousness, one, you know, I don't feel like we have, you know, it's like one you that's really you, and then a billion or unlimited amount that really aren't you. I don't really subscribe to that.
I don't subscribe to that either, unless those are the NPCs, because I don't believe in NPCs.
Right.
But if there were an infinite amount of me, and they were on autopilot, I could call them NPCs. Then I could be somebody else's NPC, but not in the lifetime that I'm currently observing. Do you know what I mean?
Right. Oh, totally. Yeah, totally.
It gives me an idea of how I could agree with an NPC philosophy.
See, I guess I just view it like a vehicle. So any person, any one of us tomorrow could be an NPC. We could get taken out of our body, taken up somewhere, you know, maybe ministered to or healed or, you know, got treatment or something, you know, and then we're put back into our body a day or two later, and we were just on autopilot, like click. You know, or maybe someone's just walking around, and then an angel can hop into an empty vessel and perform a miracle and help somebody out, maybe get a kid out of the road, and you know. So I feel like these suits we're in are just that really. What makes us alive is our soul, but it can be ran by the hologram or the you know.
What do you think of the theory that at the moment of death, when people experience miracles, they literally jump into a different version of them? This is what we were talking about with Cynthia. It's like, do you drag your body with you in this reality away from danger? Or do you jump out of this reality into another reality where you're just like, wow, that was a miracle. I know so many people who have experienced miracles.
Yeah, like Suso. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, where he should have fallen on that table and died, and then all of a sudden the table's gone, and it's like he jumped into a different reality. So, and maybe in that timeline he died.
So
you know?
Did he grab his body with him and take it into a reality, or did he leave it behind in that past reality? We don't know. There's no answers. I'm just kind of seeing what you think about that.
Well, I wanted to go back to what you were saying about our consciousness kind of bouncing around between different...
Moment to moment.
Right. And you know what? It brought me back to April's session when one of those lines of people were bing, 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 like ping pong, jumping around. Are those the Mandela affected people in that line, maybe? That's something that just came to me. I got chills when I thought of it, too.
Me too.
April, is your nose twitching?
Is your nose twitching, April? What are you, like bewitched, you know? Okay, that day or the day before, I watched that video that I sent you with, I think I called it the most fascinating double split I've ever seen instead of double slit.
Oh, I started that and didn't get to finish it. But
Yeah,
I
that
wanna see
reminds
it,
me of April. That reminds me of her ping pong people. Wait till you watch the whole video. It's too synchronistic for words. So in this video, which I will go into the comments later and I will drop it for everybody if they want to see it.
Perfect.
It's like, okay, we know the double slit is superposition, that a particle started in like 1918 and was formalized in 1927. Or was it 1818? I have to go back to my notes. I don't know. That's how my brain works. I could lose a whole century on a fact,
Yeah.
So the particle is a particle because it picks a side, and it's also a wave at the same time because the waves go through both. But this guy demonstrates how these bouncy ping pong particles, create a wave as they move through space, but they create a wave like a pebble on a lake, like this, boing, 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 boing. So she was like seeing what I had seen earlier with this quantum experiment.
Wow.
And by the time the particle gets to the screen and picks a side to go through, right, because it's being pushed through, so it goes left, its wave that it's creating on its ping pong bounce goes through both. Actually, it would go through all slits. You could have 100 slits and you would get 100 waves because the particle is not a wave, but it's creating waves as it ping pongs through space.
I love that.
I know, and he demonstrates it so you can see it with your own little eyes. And then I listened to April talking about the ping pong people.
Now,
and
I wonder
I'm
if
like,
that works
crazy.
with the photon experiment. I wonder if there's some way they could test
They only
that.
did it with an electron, and they extended it to molecules and atoms. They didn't test it with molecules and atoms. How interesting
Right.
is that? So
Yeah.
we've got serious problems with particle science. We really, really do, because gravity is a very weak force. And in order to justify the gravity that we have in the universe, they had to make up 95% of dark matter, which they cannot see and they cannot measure it because it doesn't exist. And black holes, they're theoretical. They don't exist either. If you follow the Tesla plasma electric universe scientists, there's loads of them on YouTube, they will demonstrate in a lab what we're seeing everywhere, and that is the toroidal field putting out an electromagnetic charge that makes it appear like a black hole this way, or a toroidal field this way. And you don't have dark matter, and you don't have black holes, and you really don't even have gravity. You might have a little gravity on Earth if you drop an apple, but you might not have gravity out in space. Which, of course, if you let go of particle science, the standard model, which is mostly made up and theoretical anyway to explain spooky science at a distance, right?
Yeah.
Then you can get into traveling through time. Then you can get in through traveling through vast amounts of space instantly, interdimensionally, but you have to let go of particle. And you have to start looking deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper into the particle. You have to go the opposite way and look at consciousness and look at plasma and look at the Birkeland currents and look at toroidal fields and look at everything but the particle.
Exactly.
So.
And that was sort of one of the things, because we were talking about, changing moment by moment, jumping into a different reality, and that relates to the Planck length or whatever, the
Planck
smallest.
length, the smallest possible length.
Right. Well, you remember I did a video a while back about the things that were sort of these mysteries, like you mentioned spooky action at a distance, or quantum entanglement, and
superposition.
And the maximum speed of light.
Retro-causality.
And I think these things could be relating to the fact that we are in one single consciousness. I hate simulation because people automatically think game in a computer, but I think it's a consciousness thing. But I think that's the closest thing we really have on Earth.
You could call it virtual reality instead of simulation, but it's the same thing.
Right, but I think what's important is that it's understood. It's like there's more outside of it. I think is important to understand, and then to understand that if you're all within this this bubble of consciousness, everything we know of as being reality, the whole universe is in this, right? And you've got the spooky action at a distance, and you're like, how are they still connected when they're not really connected?
But they are connected. Everything's connected.
Exactly.
I mean, even if you said the ether and the 0 point energy is in the air, that is touching everything. You can't disconnect me from you, because the air I'm touching, Shane, goes all the way over to you. It's one big giant air. right?
Exactly. That's a great way to look at it. Or
That's
the
a great way
ocean
to
is
look at it. Or the
another way.
soup. I like the soup, and I like the sea.
Mm-hmm.
Sea analogy, that we're swimming in an ocean of energy that we can't really see.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I think the Planck length and the maximum speed would be the maximum speed of the consciousness bubble we're in, you know?
Yeah, and there might not be a maximum speed for consciousness.
Right.
Consciousness might be instantaneous, because remember when they did those experiments in Lynne McTaggart's The Field, the book from I think 2004, where they tied people up to electrodes and then they put them in front of a screen. Did you hear about this one? And then they showed them good images, which were happy, and then they showed them really scary images, like bloody ones and violent ones. And what would happen is that their electrodes, the senses in their hands, would go off into the electrodes moments before the scary image came up.
Yeah, that was actually
That's precognition.
Dean Radin's study that you probably cited in that. Yeah.
Okay, and then of course they had the measurements. They're always doing the measurements of, like, you know, the quantum heart rate with heart maths. And right before 9/11, it spiked. Do you remember that?
Yeah, with the random number generators all over the golden coherence.
Consciousness knows what's going to happen before it happens.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah, and I think anytime we have one of those things, it looks just like that graph you're talking about. They call it the Global Coherence Initiative or something like that, where they put these random generators all over the world, and they should be like right at 50%. They're like basically an electronic flip of the coin, and they stay right around 50. But whenever there's, you know, it kind of bends a little bit off of 50%. They all do it, you know, all over the world, and
going on.
So it gets more erratic as it gets closer to. So I think like 9/11, it was
or
like
the
the day
tsunami.
before.
It went off before the tsunami.
Yeah, and even
2004.
Obama getting elected caused some things because there were so many people focused on that, the change, the hope, and all of that, and it was enough to set the, you know, to cause a noticeable difference on these.
So there is no time. So the body knows what's coming before it comes. The consciousness knows that might be the sub or the super consciousness that made the electrodes go off and that made the machines go off. That's what knows what's coming before our consciousness knows it's coming, because our consciousness is in linear time. There is a study. Do you remember the study? This was also in The Field. It's also, I think, in one of Cynthia Sue Larson's books, Quantum Jumps. I think it might be in there. About maybe Larry Dawsey did it originally. He was a friend of hers, I think. And he did a great book on the power of prayer. And it was about people in San Francisco back in, well, I won't give you a date, who were from all different healers, from Native Americans and traditional nurses and Christians, Judaism, Islam, Buddhism, Hinduism, Chinese, Tibet, you know, all that stuff. And they were each given a patient at random, an AIDS patient. And this was when there were like no maintenance drugs for AIDS. So everybody died of it fairly quickly.
Yeah.
And not in a nice way. And they had to pray for this person. They didn't have a photograph. They didn't have a name. Well, I think they had a name only, and they had the symptoms. And that's all they had to do was pray to heal them. And then some were in a control group and didn't get prayed for. And they know who those patients were. And they wanted to see, do prayed people survive longer? Do they get healed? Do they have less pain than non-prayed for people? And do any of the prayer groups work better than others? And I believe that they found that all the prayers worked the same, no matter what your religion was. It was all based on intention. It was the intention.
What we're doing here, we've sort of scraped away all of the religion.
Yeah, we've just stripped it down to intention, love only.
To the actual mechanics of it, yeah.
The doctrines. We've gotten rid of the doctrines.
I'm impressed with your doctrines, by the way.
Your doctrines are so impressive. Thank you.
You gotta love that.
You gotta love it. So they did find out that the people prayed for didn't live forever. They lived longer, and they had less pain than the people who were not prayed for, which is kind of sad. But that's the only way they could study it, right?
But what's the twist?
Aha! Do you remember the twist?
Oh yeah, I remember. This was you can't forget this. Yeah, go ahead.
The whole point of this is that they were praying for patients who had died 2 decades earlier. They were praying in the 2000s for patients in the 1980s. This was proof of retro-causality, that the people in the 2000s praying for patients in the 80s extended their life, gave them less pain. Now, Think of how that's working. Are the people in the 80s knowing that that's going to happen in 2 decades, so their body responds?
Right,
Or
yeah.
did they have a bad outcome, and then 2 decades later, the people in the
Right.
2000s went back and changed the past and gave
Exactly.
them a better outcome? We can't prove which way it goes. We just know it happens, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and it's one of those things that are very thought provoking. I mean, you can sit there and ponder on that for a
I've been
while.
pondering this for days
Yeah.
because it goes back to your soup,
Yeah.
back in that holographic soup of possibilities.
And then that to me just brings up all these other questions. It's like, okay, so I know a skeptic would say, well, that maybe they picked all the ones that went well and gave them to the prayer groups, and then picked all the ones that didn't go well. And,
What would be the point of that?
right. But I'm just saying that that's sort of how the mind works when something's sort of
it tries
outside
to
of your
resolve
paradigm.
it.
Right. But even if, I imagine that they just picked them at random, right?
I
But
imagine.
you have to wonder if they looked at them before the prayer and then looked at them after. There would have been a change there, but wouldn't it have been like the Mandela effect? They would have never known. It would have, everything, all the proof of it being one way would have shifted, and they were like, oh no, it looks like they've always been this way. This is
Who thought up this experiment? Here's the people you're praying for. Don't tell them they died 2 decades ago. Here you go.
Right.
Pray, pray, pray. I mean, who thought up that experiment? That was genius.
Yeah,
That was brilliant.
yeah. Yeah, that's wild, and that's definitely one I go back to that Dean Radin one you mentioned too, because I think if you can picture an event sort of like a peak, where if you're before the event, things are moving up, things are increasing, and you don't know what it is because it hasn't happened yet. But maybe you have a feeling, right?
That's kind of
Maybe you have intuition or a dream, or
You're describing how we feel right now
right.
that we're on that peak building up
Yeah.
to, don't you?
Well, I'm just imagining the global when we were talking about 9/11, you could see there was a peak in the anomalies of the random number generators, and the peak was at the actual, I think, the tower collapse or the plane hitting the building, or somewhere like during the event of it. But it was going uphill all night before that, right?
Yes.
So before anybody knew, of course the terrorists knew because they were like doing it or whatever, but probably just set off the algorithm there, but anyway, oh well. So so as we're going up, we're getting these strange anomalies with the random numbers. Before it ever happens, nobody really knows what it is, but once we look back at it, you can say, oh well, that's what it was. So I think with the images, they were reporting 6 seconds in advance their body was responding to,
and then
right.
a bad image would follow.
Right. So their body knew it was coming up to 6
Knew it was
seconds.
coming.
And then I'm taken back to the time,
That's
and I know this has happened.
That means there is no time. Not for your consciousness.
And I think a lot of people have experienced these little miracles where you're about to pull out in traffic or you're about to do something and something says, stop, wait. And then,
precognition.
somebody blows through the light and then
Gut
they would have
feeling.
T-boned you, killed you, but something told you, that could all be tied together with that study, I feel like, because my sister had a dream that her daughter got bit by a copperhead snake. And so she warned her kids, she's like, I had this, bad dream or whatever. A week later, she walks out on the porch. There's a copperhead right in the bush right there. Her daughter saw it, turned around, went back in the house. I'm like, that supports that whole thing. Like,
It does.
intuition or dreams or all of that, was given to her, and she was able to prevent that from happening,
Yeah, it almost makes you want to have precognitive dreams. Because I've asked not to have them, because I've had some disturbing precognitive dreams that I thought, I'd rather not know.
Yeah.
And now I'm
But
like,
there's nothing you can do about it.
No, maybe I should be braver than that, right?
Yeah. If you can do something about it, that's great. But if
Yeah.
you can't, then what's the point of knowing ahead of time?
Exactly.
It just starts your suffering earlier.
Yeah,
Right?
exactly. So I'm on the fence with that one.
Right. Yeah, I'm like that too. I'm like, if I can do something about it, sure, tell me. But if I can't do anything, I'd just rather not know.
I think we have the power to determine all of this. It's with intention. We just have to ask. Ask and you will receive.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the message that we got from Jesus and from Dolores.
Mm-hmm.
In that little clip was, know that you can change this and then ask and do it. Or command and do it. We're allowed to command matter.
Mm-hmm.
It's not sacrilegious. Only a very rich priest will tell you it's sacrilegious for very good reasons. because they're commanding their flock. And if you start commanding, that might go against their commands, you know?
Yeah, exactly. And that came up in T. Taylor's session that we should all ask.
I can't wait to hear it. When is it? When are you going to play it?
She's going to air the whole thing. I was thinking about airing sections of it and then having her on at the same time to discuss it.
Sweet.
And then people can go to her channel and watch it. We haven't scheduled anything yet. We just did it yesterday.
Get it in the schedule. I can't wait.
Yeah. Oh, we've got Ray Hernandez coming on Monday. Sherry said to let you know you'd be happy about that.
I have his book over there. You know, Sherry and I chat all the time on emails, and I'm like, Sherry, you have to read this book. It's 700 pages. First, I have to send it to Shane, and then I have to have Shane send it to you, and then we'll all go to ESETI, because it's the 700-page book, Beyond UFOs.
Oh, nice.
Oh,
and it's by Ray Hernandez?
Yeah, it's sitting on my coffee table, but I have to walk over there and then.
Oh, that's fine.
Okay, it's like this big by this big. It's only $30 on Amazon. It's by the free group, which is the Edgar Mitchell. He's dead now. He was the astronaut who came back a changed man and really believed in life off of Earth. And he started this foundation. And the foundation got a bunch of scientists together to study contactees. And just a little blurb before you have the show. The most fascinating parts are that 80%, actually 84% of all contactees, it was a global 5-year worldwide study. They didn't hypnotize anybody. They just let people recall and remember their feelings before, during, and after. And 84% reported a positive experience. Now, compare that to movies and games and TV, where 90% is negative, but 84% said they didn't want it to end. They didn't want it to stop. 50% have reported healings during the process. And this is the really cool part, okay? I can email you some of these things for your, I'll get in touch with Sherry, because if she hasn't read the book, I can give her some ideas. Over 50% of contactees have been contacted through consciousness alone by being moved into an alternate reality. Wow. What does that sound like? An OBE? Yeah. An NDE?
Yeah.
Now, I would expect, because I've got physical contact, that everybody's being physically contacted. It's all beam me up, Scotty, right? That's only 50%.
Wow.
Isn't that fascinating?
That's wild. Yeah, I can't wait to have them on. So
only 5% reported that it negatively impacted their life. And this includes being contacted by greys and reptilians. So you wouldn't expect 5% to say it ruined my life. You would expect, it to be much higher. That, I'm scared. I'm looking over my shoulder. I'm nervous. I can't be alone. No.
I think it also depends on when they were actually polled or surveyed, because who was the one guy, they made the movie Fire in the Sky?
Oh, I remember lots of scary movies. I remember the Fire in the Sky one.
Okay, well, that one was based on the true story of something Walton, I think was the name. Walter or Walton or something. Somebody can correct me, I'm
all
sure.
based on true stories. Even Whitley Strieber was scared. Communion, and he was scared in the 80s.
But now, decades after it's happened, he said that he thinks it was actually a positive thing.
He did. Is he still alive?
I think he is, yeah.
Yeah, he did. He changed his
Travis Walton. Travis Walton.
Yes, Travis Walton, the lumberjack guys. Yeah. He walked into the light and got taken for a couple of days. But the movies are 90% negative. But the reality of when did they take this survey, I'm going to say from the year, they did it over 5 years. They published the book 2 years ago. So what years are we thinking of? 2005 to 2010 or 2010 to 2015?
All right.
Really recently. Part 2, they're working on.
You would think out of all the negative, because part of it is Hollywood just puts out negative stuff. So of course people, if they have an experience, they've seen Independence Day or one of these, movies or shows where it's kind of put in a sinister light, or maybe they're trying to pretend like they're friendly, but they have these hidden agendas or whatever. But then you look at E.T., which was positive for the most part.
And Starman. E.T. and Starman were positive.
And they were popular.
So any other popular ones though? Close Encounters of the Third Kind? That was positive.
Was it positive? I can't really remember that one.
Richard Dreyfuss finally goes off with them in the end, and a little gray alien holds his hand and takes him on board. Yeah. That
okay,
is
okay.
definitely not a, what is it called, a spoiler, because that movie's like 40 years old.
I saw it on cable when I was a kid, so
I did too.
that's why I barely remember it. It was cool, but I
I
don't really
loved
remember.
that movie when it came out, and now I'm like so tired I can't get through it all. But I was fascinated when it first came out. Oh, Paul. Have you seen the movie Paul? Now that is funny. You haven't seen Paul?
Paul,
Oh my
Paul,
God, you
Paul.
gotta rent it. There's a lot of swearing in it, though. A lot of swearing. It's hysterically funny. It's about Simon Pegg. You know him?
No, sounds a little familiar, but
So
no.
he's English. You'd love it. I think you'd love it. You know, Paul, the alien that was taken during Roswell, finally escapes and jumps onto a van or a Winnebago, right? A motorhome with two
Right.
Brits driving through it to Comic-Con, you know, because they love aliens. And then this little alien like hitches a ride with them. It's
And
very
then he
funny.
can be there without without putting a disguise on. 'Cause
Yeah,
turns out
and then
he's just
like
wearing one.
he's got all these tricks and stuff, and the big fat guy, what's his name? He's so funny. He's always in the Simon Pegg movies, like Shaun of the Dead. You've never seen these?
No,
They're quite brutal and they're brutally funny, you know. So I'm
no,
kind of on the edge with them, like, should I like them or not? But I do.
that's hilarious.
He picks up the alien, runs off, and the FBI are trying to grab the alien out of his arms, and he's like, "Get your own alien."
Oh, Cammy and Marianne both say that they love Paul. Paul is hilarious.
Hilarious.
Love that movie, Jane says. So, okay, so yeah, I'm late to the
How many
party on
times
this
did they say the F word in it? Did anybody count? It's just like, oh my God.
one.
I think Sigourney Weaver makes an appearance in it. Yeah.
Oh, really? Oh, because she was an
They
alien?
do an ET scene, they do an alien scene, they do a close encounter scene. They play off
Oh,
all the scenes.
so it's like a spoof sort of
It
movie then?
is such a spoof. It's a
Oh,
comedy.
okay.
And
Okay.
the alien is this comedian that I wasn't familiar with until I moved back in 2012, and he's in everything. Gosh, what's his name?
Oh, they'll say in the
They'll
chat.
say it.
So many people seen it.
It's not Will Ferrell, but they kind of look alike. They both have curly hair.
Is it the guy from Step Brothers?
That's Will Ferrell, isn't it?
Well, his stepbrother, the other
Oh,
guy.
no, not that guy. I know who you're
Oh, okay.
Anyway, he's like one of the younger guys. I think he was in This Is the End of the World or This Is the End. Another movie that you shouldn't like on principle, but it's pretty great.
Right. Okay. So yeah, I've heard about that one. I haven't seen it though.
Yeah, that one
But I
I'm
heard
like,
it's pretty.
I'm really on the fence with that one.
Nobody's telling me the name. So.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, Seth Rogen.
Yes.
Seth Rogen. Okay.
Thank
there
you.
we go.
Who said that? Who gets the Seth Rogen
Mel.
star?
Mel Dumas
Carol,
gets the
well
star.
done.
Way to
He's
go.
the alien. He's Paul. So it's a brilliant alien that likes to kick back and smoke weed, and he's just a naughty alien.
That's hilarious. Reminds me of Radar.
What's that? Which one? Radar.
Radar. He's the little
Yes,
alien that
from-
Kevin was talking about. Kevin Estrella was talking about on Monday that played the
Oh,
guitar.
I thought you
with
were
his
talking about Alan Alda and MASH. I thought you were talking about Radar from MASH. You
Oh,
wouldn't
right.
know that, would you? Do you know him?
No, it's all connected though.
Oh,
Believe it or
man.
not, it's funny.
This is
Okay,
why I don't
so-
want you to reach my subconscious mind when you do it.
Now you know what right exactly. You know what I remember about MASH? I remember being, let's see, I had to be 3 years old. I remember, my parents watching the news, and I remember MASH would come on right after that. And my brother loved it. He would come in after the news went off, and my
love
parents would
MASH.
leave. He would come in and he would watch it, and I didn't know what was going on, so I never gave it a chance. But it was on for years. I
Yeah,
remember
we just
seeing it
watched,
right
my
after the
husband and I
news.
watched all the reruns in the 2000s. We saw them all. It was very funny.
Very cool. So, did we have a topic for tonight? Is the question.
Well, what have we been talking about tonight? Do you want to do a topic on what we've been talking about? Started off with your BQH with April, the blue spiders, Dolores Cannon saying it's more of a slow ladder rather than an instant, but who knows? We could be on a new timeline now, and it went from slow to instant.
I think at some point maybe we need to do like that study and do something in the past.
Oh,
Pray
could
pray
we
for
do
the
that
health of
tonight?
a notable person, like the safety
Yes,
of
I got
Princess
it.
Di before,
Okay.
something like that. Where it's
So,
just,
would you like to do a meditation where you go back into your past and you change one thing?
gosh, I think of the paradox of that. No,
Oh, I see. I see. The cautious Shane is sitting on the fence going, what else will change?
Right. I'm just kind of thinking about doing it to someone else, I guess.
Yeah, you're right.
I'm just
Maybe
like,
that's something that we should do on our own time
yeah.
if we're brave enough. But we
Okay, so
apparently we can change our past literally by intending to. You go back, you get into a meditative state. I've done it. I've done it before on certain things.
yeah.
You revisit it like you did with April in the BQH. You see it, you hear it, you sense it, right? You
Yeah.
start to feel it. Then you step away from it and you imagine it the way you would have liked it to have gone.
Mm-hmm.
And you see it and feel it and hear it just the way you would prefer. And then you bring yourself out of your meditative state.
Right.
And what happens is if it doesn't go back and physically change the past, it changes the way you feel about it.
Mm-hmm.
This is a way to heal trauma.
Yeah.
You've got something in your life that you just like, it's really painful.
Mm-hmm.
And you're brave enough to go meditate and go back to it without re-suffering it. That's why having a practitioner like you can make sure that they don't get stuck. Like when April got stuck for a little while, or they don't feel too deeply. You can bring them away from it.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah, because you can do that. You can say, well, you can just be the observer and not have to experience the pain and the sadness. And it's amazing how well it works just to make a suggestion like that. Like, oh, okay, I don't. Cool. And it's really like that in real life,
Oh,
you
I'm
don't have
free.
to be
I'm not
angry.
stuck anymore. Yeah.
And it's totally like that in real life, and you can actually do that to yourself.
Intention.
You get, ticked off in traffic or something. You don't have to be mad at this person right now. You're like, oh, okay, yeah, I can let it go. And, you can have these suggestions that you give to yourself in the moment to keep you in the moment. Yeah.
I usually say the mad thing in my head or out loud. I don't catch myself before it, and then I counteract it and I counterbalance it with something good.
Mm-hmm. Or another tip thing I try is if it's like a young driver, I can say that could be my daughter, that could be my son, that could be my mom, or that could be my brother.
I could be having a baby, or you never know.
Exactly. Yeah.
You never know.
Never know.
So we're not going to go back into the past and change anything. Do you want to?
What were you thinking with the Dolores Cannon thing, though? Or
I was thinking of
BQH?
taking the escalator down.
Okay. Yeah, that's cool.
To get really deep. And then having a choice of 3 doors in front of you. And in these 3 doors are just 3 of the best versions of you. And now you have to pick a door, knowing that that is the one that has the best possible outcome for your lifetime, right here, right now. Who you are, right here, right now. That's the one to go to. And you bring your loved ones with you. So that you don't want to go through a door that's going to be your best possible outcome, but you're going to lose people that you wouldn't prefer to lose along the way. Do you know what I mean? You bring your loved ones with you so that you're all experiencing the best possible outcomes for all of you as a family, as a group.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah?
Yeah, because I think if people were like, okay, everything would be perfect, you go over there, but you're not going to have your dog anymore or something.
Yeah.
Oh, never mind. No, that's
God
like
forbid you
family,
leave your cat behind, right?
Right, yeah.
Exactly.
So I don't know. But yeah, I think that's a good idea. Let me see if anybody's chiming in. So would be more for the person joining in to, and it would be good for, it wouldn't
It's a
be
quantum
timely.
jumping mechanism. You can use windows, you can use doors, and you can use TVs. It's very common, and you just get relaxed. You go into your meditative breathing, heart breathing, safety, bubble, grounded. And then when you take the escalator down, that brings you a little bit deeper into your brain waves. And then you start to look at the doors that are available. You've got to say, well, which one of those is the best possible outcome for you and your loved ones? That would include pets.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, at this moment, right here on Earth, on May 18th, 2019. And then you open the door and you step through. It's a quantum jumping mechanism. But if you guys are a little bit scared about that, I don't mind if you bow out and come back in and test it later when it's not live.
I don't see anybody having a problem with it.
Nah, we're fearless.
No,
we're fearless and mighty in this group.
Somebody's saying, I just saw PTSD.
That's going.
Oh, yeah, great tool for. I don't know if they're even talking about what we're talking about, but you're right. That would be a great tool for people with PTSD, because then you could go through the door where everything's great, everything that's currently in your life is great, but you can just remove
Yes, you can
those
go through a
things that
different
aren't.
door that you leave behind the trauma of the PTSD. The other way is when you go back. You take
Yeah.
the elevator down to get down into a slower brainwave function, go deeper, and then you go back to a point in your life that you would like to change. And that
Mm-hmm.
can remove post-traumatic stress disorder as well. Because
Mm-hmm.
now you're imagining it the way you would have preferred that it went. And in your mind, it did. And now you step out, take the escalator back up, and you've changed it. It no longer occurred the way. But that's a little scarier because you don't have people there if you get emotionally stuck into it to pull you out.
Yeah, and that's yeah, I probably wouldn't do that unless it was a specific little, because I've done it with things that like embarrassing things or things that I wish they hadn't happened. I just kind of play them out just as a mechanism to sort of let it go and release it, because things can haunt you for decades, you know what I
Especially
mean?
behavior. Like if you were over, like you're not like that. If you were overreactive and you said something that you wish you didn't, you can go back and change that.
Yeah.
But you're not thinking of that, are you? Because you're not saying things that you wish you never said.
Well, I just think of it like me me doing that back then, because I of course I did. You know, is
Good.
why I don't do
Glad
it
you're
now.
human.
Right, it's why I don't do it now. So if I took that away and I started doing it now, because I never learned that lesson, so I don't really want to change anything in the
Now,
past too
that's a
much,
very
other than
wise thing to say. It's because I
yeah.
did do it that I learned my lesson, so I don't do it now. If I remove it from back then, I wouldn't have learned my lesson and I'd be doing it right now. That is just too wise. That is like super wise.
That's why I live by like I don't feel like we have mistakes, because they're all experiences that
Yeah.
get us to where we're at, you know, rather than, of course we have regrets, but you wouldn't have learned what you learned from that experience. So it's, you got to take the good with the bad, you know.
Yeah, mistakes are like super learning, really fast learning, you
I
know?
guess they're really only mistakes if you don't learn from them, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so what are we doing again? We're going down into our deep levels of consciousness, and we're going to have a choice of 3 doors, and we're going to pick the door which is the door to our best possible future
Okay.
based on where we are right now in this moment. And we're going to take our family and friends and animals with us.
Okay.
And that just prevents you from being separated. That prevents you from going a direction that might down the line you wouldn't have chosen it if you knew that you're going to go it alone.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay.
And then we're going to take the escalator up, let go of our grounding cords, and know that we are now on our best possible path for this lifetime.
All right. That works. Let me
Okay, I'm going to take a drink
switch
of
the
water. I'm going to
screen.
video out.
All righty.
There
I
we
will do the
go. I'm
same.
thinking of changing that, guys, to my icon, which is a bumblebee.
I actually like the rainbow. You took that picture yourself, right? Or no?
Oh, man, I don't think I did.
Okay, because it
No,
looks like a stock image, but I thought maybe
I
I
think it's a
asked you
stock
before.
image. And I went in and looked at my rainbows. My rainbows are a lot lighter than that, the ones that
Yeah,
I've
this is
taken.
really, it's
They're
hard to
not
get
that
this kind of
dark.
color out of it, yeah.
Remember, I had to go look because I couldn't remember. I'm like, I have a lot of
Right,
pictures of
okay.
rainbows in different places. You too?
Yeah,
Okie dokie, here we go. So get comfortable, guys. It'll take less than 10 minutes or approximately 10 minutes. You might want to put your phone on silent and get comfy. Have a little sip of water. Okie dokie. So to start off, it's our normal, usual kind of scooch around where you're sitting, get comfy, take a nice, deep, relaxing breath in. Let it fill your lungs with clear, clean oxygen. And as you exhale, let out any tension in your body anywhere. And when you're ready, take another deep, relaxing, cleansing breath in. Hold it for a few moments. And this time on the exhale, release any stress from the day or from the week. And on a third breath in, this time really extend your lungs, fill up the bottom of your lungs. Let that oxygen kind of circulate all over your body, refreshing you, relaxing you. And on the exhale, let all of your muscles relax from the tip of your toes all the way up through your neck to your head. And now we're going to start breathing in through our heart. And when you're ready, exhale through your heart. Breathe in through your heart center and exhale at a pace that's comfortable for you. And now you're going to start to breathe in a color right into your heart center. Let it circulate through your body and exhale that color back out. And now breathe in that color through your heart center and let it clear and clean your entire body. Exhale it back out. This time, when you breathe in that specific color, let it heal and soothe your etheric body. And exhale that back out. That's where your thoughts are. And when you're ready and you breathe in that beautiful, clear, cleansing color through your heart center, let it soothe and clear and relax your astral body. That's where your emotions are. On the exhale, continue breathing in and out of your heart center and go ahead and put down a grounding cord of any color that you like. Usually people use silver, gold, or red. But pick a color, send it down from your root chakra all the way down through the building that you're in, all the way down through the crust of the earth. Let it go down the different layers beneath the crust of the earth, passing through them easily on its way down to the center of the earth, the core of the earth, the heart of the earth. And when your grounding cord reaches there, let it spread out quickly in all directions like the roots of a very strong tree. Now would be a good time to perhaps use the color that you were breathing in and out of your heart chakra to completely surround you in a bubble or a cocoon of light, very gentle, very soft, very comforting, and very, very protective. And now you're going to imagine, and if you can't see it, that's okay. What does it feel like? Being in nature in a place that is your happy place, a place where you feel safe, happy, full of joy, full of life, full of appreciation for the earth. And now we're just going to rest a few moments in our happy place. Our hearts are connected. And we're going to imagine in our mind's eye or in our imagination without visuals, an escalator. And it's a very comfortable, safe, wide escalator. And it's surrounded in purples and greens. And at the bottom of it, there's a lot of pink. We're going to step comfortably on that escalator. And it's already moving slowly. And it's going to take you down a level now. And you're going through the purples. And it feels really good. Very relaxing. Very comforting, very loving. Very wise. And we're going to go further down on the escalator now. And we're in the greens. And that feels really good. Very healing. Very safe. Very loving. And we're going to go further down on this escalator. And we're getting into the pinks now. And when we're in the pink light, we feel completely safe, completely loved, and completely healthy. We're going to gently step off of the escalator, remaining in the pink light. It could be a salmon light, a little bit of orange, a little bit of yellow around its edges. And before you are 3 white doors. They also have 3 crystal doorknobs on them. And as you look at the 3 doors in front of you, you feel completely relaxed because you know which door to take right here, right now, in this space and time which are connected. You know which door will lead to the best possible outcome for your future, for this lifetime, here, now. And you're going to take with you your loved ones, whether they're people or animals or plants and rocks and things like that. They're going to go with you so that the best possible outcome of your life here, now, includes those that you love. Go ahead and step up to the door. Is it on the left? Is it in the center? Or is it to your right? And choose it confidently. Open the door, step through, and what you see is beautiful, clear blue sky, a beautiful yellow-white sun off in the distance, and lots of green, healthy, soft, flowing grass. Step onto that grass now and lay down in the soft green of the grass on a warm summer's day where you can rest or take a little nap, feeling confident, feeling safe, and feeling happy that you have now quantum jumped into the best possible version of you with your loved ones. We're going to relax and just soak up that sun and that beautiful day for about 3 minutes. And then we're going to come back and we're going to take the escalator back up, let go of our grounding cord, and come back into our full consciousness. So when you're ready, you're going to sit up and you're going to stand up, and you see just over the field, there's a cute little cabin, kind of like a cabin in the woods, very welcoming, very safe, and very cute. And you're going to walk up to it, and it only has one door. So you step up onto the patio or the little veranda, and you open the one door, and you step through it, and on the other side is your living room, your bedroom, your home, where you are right now, sitting or lying or standing. And you look around and it all looks the same, but it's different because it's the timeline of your choosing for the best possible outcome and the best possible lifetime for yourself and all concerned, which are your loved ones. So now you can release your grounding cord. You can release your bubble of light around you. You can start to move your neck, your hands, your feet, your shoulders, especially your neck. Just move it around gently and come back up the escalator from the pink through the green to the purple to a fully conscious mind, and open your eyes. I hit the wrong button. There it is. Yes, I've done that. I've done that one a few times, but oh, I love it out of the grass. It's so soft and so beautiful. It's kind of the way I remember the sun being as a child. I sure have. I called it yellow white tonight because I'm like, it's like more yellow. Yeah. Yeah, I'm kind of far away. Yeah. But you can do this anytime you like. You can like close your eyes, go to sleep, and take the escalator down through the beautiful healing colors. And then you can step through one of those doors. That's okay. Oh, yeah, it does. Okay. I've never done it, but I've had them shut down with heat before.
Oh, they
Especially
couldn't
like
hear me.
they couldn't hear
Okay.
you?
Oh, okay. So I typed part of it, but yeah, I was going to tell you, you can Google how to clean out your specific model of computer, and then whether it's a desktop or whatever. But yeah, the dust packed in there can really slow it down, and a lot of times it's like new again. Yeah, I never muted it for them, but for you.
Oh, okay. As long as they can hear it.
All righty. Well,
Cool.
beautiful. All right. Well, I'm actually getting my next wave of sickness that just came
Are
over
you
me. So
serious?
yeah. So thank you guys. Sorry about the mic issue, but yeah, that's my techie tip for the day.
That's your tech
Um,
tip today.
yeah, some of the laptops you can just take the screws out and pop the back off, and you'll see all the dust in there, and you can just
I've
suck it
seen it
out.
on videos where
Yeah,
it's
but if you're not brave, you can get like a vacuum and put it at the hole where it's sucking in, and get pressured air and blow it in the other way, and kind of reverse the direction that air normally flows, and it will
oh, that
force
sounds
all that.
good.
And it's easier for someone that doesn't want to take their computer apart, you know.
I wouldn't. I wouldn't take it apart because I wouldn't know how to put it back together.
Well, the desktop is pretty easy. Most of them you just pop the side off. There's usually one or two screws in the back, and it slides and pops off the side, and then you can see right inside there, and you can suck it out of there, and it'll work real well. Trust me.
Cool. So tech tips. We woke up into a reality where we've got massive tech tips and a slightly nauseous Shane. Oh dear.
Hey, I'll take it as it's come. It's got to be good. It's all part of the process, right?
Yeah, like we said, when my tires disappeared, maybe that jumped me into a better version of me because I was asking for that, and then my tires disappeared. I'm like, what? Okay, that was all part of it, right?
Yeah, it's all exciting. It's all, consciousness expanding. It raises our awareness of
Yeah.
how things work, So I think it's a cool thing.
It is a very cool thing.
Once you get past the shock of, like the Mandela effect,
And once you find other people who are experiencing what you're experiencing, so you know you're not crazy because
yeah,
they're seeing it too.
we found each other.
We found each other, hooray!
All right, well, I guess we'll wrap this one up, and I guess you'll be on Monday. You'll be watching Monday because you like Ray Hernandez. So.
Yes, I think he's in Miami. When he wrote the book, he was in Miami.
Yeah, he is. He is. I know he's East Coast anyway. Time.
Tell him.
It's actually going to be an hour earlier, so
Tell
you
him
guys know
I'm
it's
reading
8.
the book and I'm on like page 100, and it is a huge doorstop of a book. It's like 12 inches high by 7 inches thick. It's
Oh, wow.
massive, bigger than the Bible, unless it's
Big print or small print?
big print, easy to read,
Oh, okay, good.
but not huge.
Right.
Yeah, not embarrassingly huge.
All right, you guys. Well, lots of love and light to you guys and all you guys watching later, and we'll see you on the next one. Thank you, Eileen.
Thank you. Bye.
Peace.
Peace.
If you'd like to support the work I do, go to paypal.me/UOTF. Thanks.